So yeah, let's hop over to Vancouver now. And it's quite a different story here looking at these top cuts, right? This top cut dominated by Gardevoir, but there's a couple Dragapult in here, of course, as well. Still, this cut, a lot more variety. I mean, a couple Dragapult, a couple Golden Go, right? Um,
It's a 12-person top cut as well, so Lugia's and that one Gardevoir from Makani were effectively in cut. Um,
yes.
yeah, definitely a little bit more variety, not as dominated by Gardevoir. And let's take a look at the meta breakdown, I guess, first. We can start with day one because we do have that here. Didn't get the best of the rest, but yeah,
Ooh,
Dragapult, nothing too crazy to be honest. Dragapult number one by a lot. And then some 10 percenters in there. Golden Go has kind of established itself, and I don't think it's going anywhere. There's only two more major tournaments in this format. You got Stockholm and honestly, I feel like the Europeans have some. Shout out to Yella, king of the Golden Go. They definitely have some true Golden Go stands over there. So we could even see it get up to like being the second most popular deck over in Europe. I feel like 12% plus. But it's definitely established itself. I feel like Lugia. I feel like a lot of people actually got on that as well. That Lugia was a pretty good play for this tournament, the way the meta was shaping up. So we saw Lugia kind of make a bounce back. I feel like post UIC. And then Guardforce still kind of hanging out up there. Archaludon took it from UIC, and Cloth had a little bit of a come up as well. We don't have the best of the rest, but I'm sure Maridon and Lost Box aren't too far away.
yeah.
And then going into day two, um, yeah, everything just kind of like the top. It's kind of like the rich get richer kind of situation. Golden Go, Guardy, Lugia all increase in popularity. Dragapult takes a slight hit. Archaludon, which is probably the worst of those decks, to be honest. I feel like a lot of people hate on Archaludon as just not being that good of a deck, and its power level is like kind of low, to be honest. Falls off. Lost Box kind of replaces it, and Cloth even has a little bit of a come up as well. So really top heavy meta going into day two.
Yeah, and Lost Box is one of the ones that you predicted to have a good tournament as well, and
Yeah.
it did do decently at least. Converting well from day one into day two. Can't imagine it was too crazy popular.
Yeah, I am
In
curious
day
how popular it
one.
was in day one. Feel like I saw none of it walking around the tables, but it could have been like 5% to 7%, which isn't too ridiculously crazy. But yeah, I thought it would have like a decent showing overall, and it did okay. It did
Oh man,
better. Yeah, it didn't. It did okay.
one of the people I was keeping track of on the weekend was Simon Trottier Lacasse, and he was playing Lost Box, but did not make day two, which I'm just now realizing as well. But he started like 5-0.
Hmm.
And then I think tied on stream, lost on stream. I think he lost on stream actually.
All downhill from there.
Yeah, he did not make day two, 5-3. But yeah, a couple lost boxes in day two, but none really in top cut. Top
Yeah.
cut. I there was a point in the tournament when I was walking around that I thought there was gonna be like a bunch of Maridon in cut because it was you and Ross Coffin, and then there was like one other guy too that was like way up there at the top for a
Rogerson.
while. Oh
Rogerson was
yeah,
up
yeah,
there.
Rogerson, yeah,
Yeah,
and he did end up making cut, but he
he
ended up
did
being
prevail. Yeah.
the lone Maridon representative. But yeah, let's start by looking at Dragapult, and we'll start with Andrew Hedrick's list here.
Yeah, and nothing crazy. No Temple of Sinnoh, I think, is like the biggest standout for me, especially when like it felt like Lugia was a pretty good play going into Vancouver. So that's like the biggest standout to me. But besides that, it is Dragapult Dusknoir. Went for the 3-1-2 line of Dusknoir. We saw Natalie get second at UIC with the 3-2-1. I'm personally a big fan of the 3-2-1, but I think it probably is meta dependent a little bit. And I couldn't tell you exactly what should drive one over the other. But yeah, one thing we should mention probably Dragapult won both tournaments. Non-Dusknoir and Dusknoir both got a piece of the pie, right? They split it. Dragapult, I wouldn't say they dominated though, right? They just,
No.
probably the best deck in the format. I don't think anyone is going to dispute that. Took down took down both tournaments, but not without some hard fought battles for sure. So it wouldn't have been like seeing how everything played. I wouldn't have been shocking to see Dragapult not get the dub in the end, but it's also no surprise it did win both.
And this was Hedrick's fourth regional win, in addition to being an IC champion, winning an AIC last season. And yeah, I mean, he has very obviously established himself. Like he is like the best player, I would say, of like the young generation in the Masters
Yeah,
division right now, for sure.
but yeah, I don't even think it's close. I think it's just like
Yeah,
it's Hedrick.
he's like a top three North American player, maybe
Yeah.
like number two or number one. I don't know. He's top three for sure.
I think I would give him number one. I'd give him the number one spot for right now for sure. His like success over the last couple of years is kind of
Yeah.
undisputed across um
And
comparison.
it was cool talking to him, during the weekend. He said that he did not have this trip booked, but went to EUIC. He gave Justin Templer a lot of credit for the list. And you can see it's the same 60 that he and Justin both played to EUIC. And
Yeah.
he said he played it at EUIC. He didn't have the best day too, but he felt so confident in the deck, it made him book the Vancouver Regional Championships because he felt
Yeah.
so confident in it. And then ends up paying off massively, wins his fourth regionals, undefeated in regionals finals still. So what? You have 8 regionals and 2 ICs. He has 4 regionals and 1 IC, so, like, he's half of you, is that right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, he's half my power level. He's lucky he didn't hit me in the tournament.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you next time, Hedrick. But yeah, this is what I've been saying recently is like if you prep well and play well, it only takes you like 2 tournaments to like you should probably be in a top cut or like lose a win into top cut. Like I think the game, the for where we're at, for where like the higher level of competition is at, like to win these tournaments. Like if you're a really good player, you prep well, you play well, even if you go 0-4 one tournament, the next tournament you should probably be on your winning in to top cut, as long as you played well and prep well in both tournaments. And we kind of
Yeah,
see that turnaround here from Hedrick. He felt super confident in the deck. Not to say he played bad at UIC, but it didn't go his way. Turns it around. Next tournament wins a tournament, right? Like just one tournament difference goes from top 128 to a dub. And yeah, I think most top players should be able to kind of replicate that. We even saw the same thing kind of from Lucas. Lucas at UIC had a pretty bad UIC finish.
yep,
Next tournament plays the exact same deck, more maybe if, you know, uh, changes up the list, but besides that, second place, right? Another great player and kind of just doing it 2 tournaments in a row, getting the second place here with the Golden Go with some interesting inclusions. I mentioned the Spiritomb when we talked about Diego's build earlier, but I think the big standout is Make It Rain. Or no, Strike It Rich.
Golden Go
Uh,
Junior.
Yeah, Golden Go Junior. And this is in here for its first attack. When you evolve it from a Gimme Gold during that turn, you do 120 damage with its first attack, strike it rich, and it's a way to kind of initiate the prize trade in the mirror match. Is like the big one, and it can also punch Fighting Ogre Pawn. And there was actually a decent amount of players playing Fighting Ogre Pawn. Ian Robb and Vance Kelly were both playing the Ogre Pawn in Dragapult as like a way to just beat Golden Go straight up by itself. Because
Yeah.
Golden Go doesn't have a good way to hit Fighting Ogre Pawn. But Strike It Rich does work. That is a way to do that. Also, it's a way to initiate the prize trade in the mirror. Because the way the mirror match kind of breaks down for the prize trade is you don't want to attack with the 2 prizer first. Because if you do, you lose the prize trade. So the way I saw uh, Lucas and crew tackle this at EUIC is they would sit there and manually charge up Radiant Greninja and then use that as their first attacker, unless the other person initiated with a Golden Go. But you can just do it so much faster, so much more consistently just by playing the baby Golden Go. And it's also a good way to prize trade into Lugia sometimes because it can KO. Wait, does it KO? Yeah, it KOs the Chinchino, right?
Yeah, it does KO
120.
the Chinchino, yeah,
Yeah, so it can give you that kind of
and it doesn't
potential
get
as well.
KO'd by Iron Hands.
Yeah, exactly. So it can give you another tool in the Lugia matchup as well, which was like I said, another a deck that had decent success in Vancouver. We saw, but it felt like it was pretty good for Lugia going into this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Lucas and Andrew, 2 great young players, both doing well. It was actually funny, we interviewed Lucas after top 4, and the other top 4 match was still playing Hedrick versus Caleb, and we asked him who he'd rather play against, and he said, "I want Hedrick because Hedrick's never lost in the finals, and I wanna hand him that first L." And then
Nope.
he didn't do that.
Yeah,
But I love the confidence, I love
yeah,
that.
for sure, definitely. And honestly, both
Um,
matchups were like fine for Lucas as well. I don't think he really cared what deck he went up against.
yeah.
Yeah, then there was the boy with the Turbo Moon. We already kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, Turbo Moon kind of came out of nowhere, took a top cut spot in both majors, and no surprise to see LeBoy playing Pokemon catchers because that's like
Yeah.
his card.
He
I
was
wonder
on
if he just likes playing it or if he actually thinks like there's a mathematical like reason to play catcher. It's like because of the variance of Pokemon catcher in the variance of the Pokemon TCG, playing a deck without catcher actually just doesn't make any sense. The advantages you can gain from Pokemon catcher means you should just always play Pokemon catcher, or he's just like, I don't know, it's cool to get heads and then your opponent be annoyed that you got heads on a Pokemon catcher.
when we bring players up for the stream, we always ask them like if they have a fun fact or something they want to share. And Layboys was I like flip cards. I like flipping coins, I think is what he said. And when I in the interview I asked him, and if I remember right, he said something like, it's obviously an incredibly powerful effect. So it's like, yeah, sure, sometimes it doesn't do anything, but like half the time, like it does something crazy.
It's
Which is
true.
true, which is true. He's not wrong.
Keep rocking it until it rotates, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
Turbo Moon did it. And like you mentioned, Caleb Rogerson, the Soul Maridon up there at the top, still rocking the secret box build. And is it probably pretty close to the list he played at UIC? I would imagine might be the same 60 actually.
It is the same
Yeah,
60.
a little bit better finish than, and this is also another example of that as well, right? Like Rogerson, I mean, top 64 to UIC is kind of whatever, but I'm sure he wants better out of his placements next
And he
tournament
also
around, top four.
played a similar list to top 8 at Merida. I can't imagine it's
Yeah.
too many cards different. So it's like, yeah, 3 tournaments. I mean, a top 8, a top 64, which, I'm sure he wants better, but it's still a 2K cash, right? And then a top 4 at Vancouver. Pretty solid last couple weeks for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nothing too crazy. The biggest standout card is like the vacuum. I think it's actually the only change from the Merida list. I'm not even sure what the cut was, but yeah, there's a lost vacuum in there.
Yeah.
That's it.
So while we're talking about this, why don't we spend a little bit of time and talk about the deck that you played to the tournament? Um, and kind of some of the reasons, because you had played something similar to this to Merida, right? This is very similar to your list that you won Merida with, but you changed it up for EUIC and then kind of kept similar things from your build from EUIC for this tournament, but added quite a few more techs. So why don't you just talk about kind of your thought process? Because there's some cards here I think some people would be surprised to see: Blood Moon Ursa Luna, Defiance Band, Canceling Cologne. What's going on?
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? I think at UIC in general, Maraudon one just wasn't that good of a play. And if I had put more time into just like try out other decks, I probably would have hopefully gotten off Maraudon, but didn't put a ton of time to it, so stuck with it and played a Prime Catcher build that had 2/2 Magneton. But then going into Vancouver, I expected Lost Box to see a decent amount of success, more than it actually did. So my prediction on that was definitely not as good as I would have liked. And then I thought Golden Go was going to get up there and be like a pretty popular, pretty successful deck, alongside something like the Guard Wars. I didn't think Lugia would actually like get back up there to like the 10%, but it did as well. I thought Lugia would be pretty successful going to this weekend, so I want to stick with Maraudon. So I thought Maraudon was a really good play for the tournament. I don't like Secret Box Maraudon as much as Prime Catcher because I feel like your Dragapult matchup specifically and your Guardian matchup are so much harder with Secret Box. Prime Catcher does so much for those matchups. So I really like the Prime Catcher for that reason. Played a 2/2 Magneton at UIC, but I really wanted to play the Ursaluna Defiance Band package to basically auto win the Golden Go matchup because the Golden Go matchup I think is unfavorable without it because they can, if they find their Turo, they can create a board state of like double Golden Go. And if they do it early enough, you just don't have a way to kind of draw 4 prize cards before you use Raichu. So sometimes you have to like Iron Hands for 2, Raichu for 2, and then you just have no way to draw 2 prize cards. But it's pretty easy to do that. It's pretty easy to draw 4 prize cards against Golden Go. The last 2 can be pretty hard, but if you play Ursaluna Defiance Band, it's, like, really easy. You just hands twice, or you hands plus Miraidon KO their Pheasantipity, or you hands plus Raichu, and you can just, like, be super aggressive, go through all your generators, use your Magneton, and then be like, Ursaluna Defiance Band, like, off an Arvin really easily to close out the game. And I was pretty confident cutting down to the 1/1 Magneton from the 2/2 of EUIC because you have that late game Ursaluna to use, not just in the Golden Glove matchup, but other matchups as well, including the mirror match. Like, I think having the Ursaluna in here makes the mirror match from unfavorable to like 50-50 with this build now. Having that big late game attacker that's super efficient that just needs nothing to attack. And then the other tech card inclusion was the Canceling Clone, and that's mostly for the Lost Box matchup. Gives you a way to one hit KO the Pikachu, which like having that option is just super powerful. Unfortunately, that's not how my Lost Box match went. And it is actually kind of funny. Caleb played the exact same 60 as me, and every time he went up against Lost Box, he prized his Canceling Cologne, at least one of the games, 1 or 2 of the game. Like one
Oh
of his
no.
games, he was in game 3, just has game, and Canceling Colone's his last prize card.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
was kind of funny. So
Absolutely brutal.
Caleb would have made a way more use out of the Canceling Cologne than me if he just didn't prize it so much. But I actually used the
Bruh.
Canceling Cologne.
He hit Greninja EX. That's so
Yeah, that was
cringe.
tragic. He had Greninja EX Frostlass.
Oh,
Um,
that's gotta be terrible.
I would have actually, I actually got a decent amount of use out of the Canceling Cologne because I played against, I want to say 3 Slowpults that, and they all play Klefki and like a Gardevoir. And it's actually kind of funny. Game 1 against every single one of those players, they went second. I think one of them maybe went first. They opened a clef key game 1 every single time,
So
which was
lucky.
but I had one of the games, I either had the answer with Canceling Clone or Prime, like, almost instantly. So it was, like, fine. That's another reason I really like the Prime Catchers, like, for those situations up against the clef, and that's, like, another reason I want to stick with Prime Catcher, and I felt more comfortable including the Canceling Clone, was Slow Paul is a deck now. Every Gardevoir has clef key. I get to, turn 1, you go Arvin, Canceling Clone, plus 4 Seal Stone, and you just, like, pop off and play the game. Um,
Anything interesting you want to talk about from any of your games here? We got to see you play versus Lucas on stream, which was a good one.
yeah. Um, Nothing crazy. Yeah, like my losses against Sean and Daichi, I definitely misplayed in in both those games. It wouldn't have like won me the sets, but it would have given me a better chance. So who knows if I just played better in those sets, that could be the difference maker for me. Ending top 32 to like making top cut and potentially going further. Because like I mentioned, I was really confident in my meta predictions, really confident in the Miraidon in general going into this tournament, and then really confident with my deck list choice, and kind of everything worked out. Not 100%, but close enough. My reads were pretty good, I feel like, across the board. So I feel like we run. I feel like I would like if we run this tournament. Like, this is one of those tournaments that I kind of want. Like, I want back. I want to run this tournament again because I feel like this is a tournament that I like. Out of all the tournaments I go to through the season, this is maybe the one I'd be most confident in winning. Out of every tournament I'll go to this season potentially. So it's rare that I ever like feel that way about a tournament. I think the only time in recent history is the regional Peoria where Tord won, where me and the crew played Reggie's. Like, I feel like Reggie's was an insanely good call for that tournament. Our list was like the best list. That's like a tournament I want back. I was like, that's like one of those few tournaments where I'm like, we should have done better. I should have done better at this tournament. I think Kid got ninth. Um,
It was the one before
uh,
this.
yeah, I was the one before the one that Tord won 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
One of those rare tournaments where I'm like, we definitely should have had a better result, or I should have had a better result. Um, the Reggies. It was just so
That's a
good for that tournament.
throwback.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason for the Defiance ban or Saloon the Canceling Cologne. I don't know if I'd play the Canceling Cologne moving forward. If you think you're gonna have to deal, like, I like it for Lost Box, but I think you can get away with it without Canceling Cologne if you're only expecting Klefkis. But honestly, running this same 60 at like Stockholm, I wouldn't be mad at running this 60. Also, the Canceling Cologne can go further than that. Basically, auto wins the control matchup because it takes away one of their cheese win conditions. Um, and then it auto wins stall as well. So like it gives you, there's an odd, like, your stall matchup was already good before it, but now it's just like you have another card for like stall and control and any other kind of weird cheese that you run into, Mimikyus and Ogrepons and stuff like that. And it fits pretty comfortably. It doesn't feel over teched as well.
There was another Golden Go in Top Cut. We got Trevor Reed here with the Golden Go list. Doesn't have the baby Golden Go, but similar to that that build that we saw from the American crew at EUIC.
Yeah. Did get the memo on the Spiritomb. Does have that upgrade in there. Doesn't have the baby go. I guess like the other big change that Lucas had from the UIC build was the Roxanne as well. We see this one from,
Yeah, the Roxanne was massive.
yeah, which is the big play we saw between Lucas and LeBoy, the Roxanne fade out
Oh my
with the
gosh, that play
Spiritomb.
was disgusting, dude.
It was a really, really sick
Oh, that
play.
was so sick.
I
So
think
for those who don't know, what happened basically is Leebly uh used Pecharunt to put his Roaring Moon EX active, used Calamity or what's it called? Frenzied Gouging to KO a Golden Go EX, put 200 damage counters on himself, took 10 from poison, and then Lucas used Roxanne, used I almost said Shuppet's fade out, used Spiritomb's fade out to deal 10 damage, pop the Spiritomb back to his hand. The Roaring Moon got KO'd by poison between turns during Pokemon checkup, and then Labely had 2 cards in hand and could not use Pheasantipity. It was so sick.
yeah, it was a really sick play. I think it did come back off the back of a pretty big mistake from LeBoy though. Like, LeBoy should have tried to catch or KO Gimme Ghoul that turn, and stay off of the Roxanne.
Mm,
Stay off 3 prize cards for 1 more turn and let him build up a bigger board state. But he went like super aggressive, and then Lucas was able to refine the Roxanne and kind of punish that play. But I think LeBoy should have like played for, because catchers are kind of dead in that matchup to begin with. So having them in your deck is just like not that good. So you get them out of your deck, and then you also just take a 1 prize knockout, so you avoid the Roxanne for a turn. Um, but it was and then yeah, unfortunately game 2 of that set was just LeBoy dead drawing.
yeah. And then We do have another Dragapult in cut. This one is the Slowpolt from Anel.
Yeah, so Slowpoke seen success at both tournaments. I feel like the card I see the Fernandez brothers shout out sometimes is the Defiance Vest, and we see keeping that in here. I do like the 2 Crispin as well. The 1 Crispin feels so sketchy in the build from the Fernandez. I do like
Yeah.
the addition of the 2nd Crispin, and it's kinda funny because every Slowpoke I went up against throughout the tournament in Vancouver, I would just gust KO their Droopy or Dracloak with a energy, and sometimes they would never even attack with a Dragapult with the Phantom Dive.
Yep,
Um,
that's the merit or the, downside of playing unfair stamped. Not having access to Sparkling Crystal is a pretty big deal.
yeah, so the 2 Crispin there, I do like that a lot.
We got a Archaludon in here from Hiroshi Takeda from Japan. Had the black belts training, had the Thornton, had the Dialga line.
Yeah. I think
Pretty
you do need the
straightforward build though.
Yeah, I feel like you do need Dialga in our Chaladon. I think I'm coming around on that where it's like the deck is like just not powerful enough without it. I guess I'd give a I mean, he's one of the best players in the game, so may as well talk about it. But Brent Tonneson played our Chaladon at this tournament actually, which was a surprise to me. I was surprised to see that he played our Chaladon.
Same.
And he actually played Prime Catcher in here. He did have a 2/2 Dialga, which I guess it makes more sense to play the Prime Catcher if you're going to play a thicker Dialga line, like you're going a little bit more all in on Dialga, and you're trying to like activate it as soon as possible and kind of get ahead as opposed to play from behind.
Dude, low key,
Um,
I might need to go back and look at it, but this looks like insanely similar, like within 3 cards potentially of the deck that I was playing before Sacramento.
is it? Is that
Yeah,
close?
because I played Prime Catcher, like, it was before, like, our Chaladon had been, really kind of
How is it so
explored
much worse
thoroughly or
that
was, like, that
format?
popular. I don't know, dude.
Is it just not?
Drago, but
Oh,
it was like, Drago
Charizard.
was one of the good,
Charizard.
yeah, Charizard was kinda one of the big
Yeah,
problems,
that's
and,
the reason.
Raging Bolt.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah, the deck actually honestly just sucked back then.
Yeah, Raging Bolt
But
was tough. You could beat a bad Raging Bolt player, but
you came up with the
anyone
optimal 60 ahead of time, though.
I gotta get my small dubs when I can, bro. They're so few and far between these days.
And I think it's actually something you mentioned, like you was it the last tournament we kind of talked about? You're like, even if they don't make top cut, it doesn't hurt to scroll down and take a look at what Tord played,
Yeah,
or yeah, that's what you said for EYC, and I think Tord specifically. Yeah, like there's still because like these are still the best players in the world. Like
yeah.
even if they didn't win the tournament, like they're doing something different usually than the average player, and you can still like get a lot more to work with going into
Yeah.
your next
Like,
tournament.
if you for example, a great example here would be if you just looked at Makani's top 8 Gardevoir lists, you'd be like, "Okay, interesting. Yeah, Badoo plus Hyper Aroma. Okay, makes sense." But if you scroll down a little bit, Piper didn't make top cut. Ooh, what's this? Oh, played a Technical Machine Devolution in
At
Gardevoir.
the
That's
Heroes Gate.
interesting.
Yeah.
Had the Heroescape. Henry Brand also played a TM Devolution in Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Those are, like, things to take note of for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more information to gain from a tournament than just what won, the meta percentages, going through every single list, or not even every list. You can just pick out some names if you want to, but even theoretically, going through every single list can be beneficial. Although there is probably a little bit more to it if someone like Henry Brand is playing a Devo versus TM Devo versus like just anyone playing a TM Devo on a guard. There's going to be a difference between those two players playing, of course.
We did see Aban Ahmed here get top cut with Pidgeot Control.
Yeah. And it's actually funny. I think a Bond lost his deck in the middle of the tournament.
Yep, I was gonna bring
Uh,
that up. That was this loss right here to Charlie Lockyer.
Dude, Charlie got so lucky, but it's the only win condition. Charlie was like, "Well, this is an L." I have no idea what Charlie was playing, but it'd be funny if Charlie was like, "Well, I can't beat control," and then it's like a Bond's like, "I lost my tech." Oh.
All I gotta say is you just gotta keep your eye out on, like, Charlie's eBay account or something, see if he's selling a Pidgeot Control deck.
You know where it went, but that is
Yeah.
really sick. It's a kind of a sick story here. I mean, and even a Bond like kind of shouted that out on Twitter. Was just like kind of like a shout out to the Pokemon community, the Poke parents who like helped him rebuild the deck, like uh, between rounds, right? Or while the round was going on so he could have it for the next round. So the
Something
community kind of coming together a little bit for that. It's always cool to see.
when this was all going down, when round 6 got paired, I was standing out on the floor and watching people go to their seats and stuff like that, and people were setting up, and all of a sudden, I am up at the top tables, and I hear, some commotion at their game, and Avon's like, "Oh, snap." And then, like, he looks over at the other table, like, where he was sitting the round previously. You can see, like, they were at table 21. He was at table 30 the round before, and he sees a deck box, runs over to table 30, snatches the deck box, and runs back to table 21. And then the dude who's sitting at table 30 in round 6 is, like, just looking around, like, so confused. And then Abon opens it up, the deck box, and it wasn't his deck, it was the other guy's deck. Snatched it out of his hands.
Was it the
I don't
same
know,
deck box? Was it
it
like
was
the
the
same deck?
same deck
That's
box.
funny. That's so funny.
And then he ran back and handed it back, and the dude was like, "WT," like, he said, "WTF, man." Like, he was, like, so confused. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. It did suck for a bomb though, but yeah, very cool Poké community dub moment there of everyone coming together, helping him rebuild it. It's very cool for
Yeah,
sure.
from lost deck to top 8, losing to LeBoy with the turbo wound, which is a terrible matchup for the control. There's basically no win condition, um, at all. We did see that though, beat 2 Lugias, it looks like, on the way up. Has the Giacomo in I don't even know what the win condition is. Something like Ursaluna Mist is probably the win condition, to be honest. Or not Mist, Ursaluna do they need the Mist? Just Ursaluna. You just penny loop the Ursaluna against Lugia, I assume has to be the win condition.
Yeah.
If Giacomo can get rid of, like, the legacy and the gifts.
Yeah.
I don't wanna think too hard about it. I don't like thinking about control, unless I'm playing it for a tournament.
I don't think about it. And then, looking through the rest of the top cut, we did see a little bit of surprise here. Not the player, but the deck. Christian Labella getting top
Yeah.
cut with Reggie Drago, and he what did he start in this tournament? He started like
It was 8-0 day 1.
yeah, 8-0 day 1,
I
9-0, and then
know.
went tie, lost, tie, and then lost in cut.
Yeah.
So it
I'm
feels a
not
little
con
bad to start 9-0 and then have to play an ASIM for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But, it's interesting. I think everyone knows Drago's still a very powerful deck. Just the Dragapult matchup seems so tough with Badoo. Definitely not convinced that, Dragapult is, here to stay as, like, a contender for these last couple of majors we have in this format. And we look at, like one thing I looked at Christian's list, I was like, "Okay, he didn't even, like, play anything in here that's, like, crazy for the to deal with Badoo. He just plays, like, a Turo."
Yeah.
Like, Latias has been, like, standard in the deck ever since Badoo's been in the format, but it's like there's no Poppy, there's no Crispin, there's no, like, other card to, like, handle Badoo. It's just like, I'm still just Reggie Drago, I'm pretty good.
And he didn't play against any
Until the final. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Well, we don't know
until
what the
top
unknowns
cut.
are, I guess.
We don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't, like, recommend anyone, like, pick it up for Stockholm, I guess, but, like, it's always, gonna be a powerful deck, right? It's still powerful. Just feels pretty weak in the meta.
And let's look at Makani's list, and then we'll look at the two Lugia lists here. So Makani did play Gardevoir. It was a Badoo Hyper Aroma build, and that's kind of what you see, right? People pretty much are either playing Unfair Stamp with TM Evolutions, or they're playing this build with Badoo plus Hyper Aroma.
Yeah. Honestly, I have no idea what to no triple Monkey Dory is weird, 'cause I feel like everyone's doing that, but does have the Radiant Alakazam, which is a big standout, I guess. And also, I guess, I don't know, is that, like, a question? Like, should everyone be playing Radiant Alakazam if you're not running Radiant Greninja? Because a lot of people aren't playing
Greninja.
Radiant Greninja. So, like, should everyone be playing Radiant Alakazam? I guess I just don't know, about that. But, yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people are playing, Gardevoir, right? We saw that we took a look at the TM Devos, take a look at this build. What's the best way to play Gardevoir? I have no clue. You even look at, like, the Petrucci build, double Bravery Charm, hitting a little bit harder, like we saw, right? The double Bravery Charm Drifloon. So, like, kinda a little bit more, I guess, old school at this point, take on Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Um,
Azevedo with the what's it called? The
Luxurious
luxury
Cape.
cape. And then we saw Piper with the um big what's the big cape? Hero's cape? Hero's
Oh,
cape.
yeah, the Hero's Cape, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that people are playing it. I have no clue what the correct way is. I haven't messed around with Gardevoir in quite a while. Um, but, I mean, it's good. It's still good, that's for sure.
And then we got 2 Lugia decks, Joe, Figliano, and Salmit Kakatapu. And this is a pretty cool story for Salmit here because he was the guy who went into San Antonio cut. I think he was first seed or second seed. He was
Ye
up there with Snorlax, went like basically undefeated. Did lose in cut, and then quite the change up um, going from playing Snorlax into Lugia. I mean, that's quite the switch up, right? Also,
Yeah,
holy
definitely.
cow, look at how popular this list was. Why is this list so popular?
Is this the Kieran 60?
It may be, but it's
That's what I'm
just
wondering.
the new format, so that's probably what it
Yeah,
is.
or this might just be the Salmon Squad 60, to be honest. I don't know, but this might be the Kieran. This might be
That's
the
a pretty
Kieran
deep
60.
squad, bro.
That
I
is a
don't
deep
know.
squad, yeah, for sure. If anyone was part of the crew, is there a crew? And if there's not a crew, then y'all hit up Kieran's Medify group, because I could see that happening as well. Because this looks pretty close to what Kieran had been playing in previous formats for sure. And I like this list. I personally, mentioned that I like the idea of 2 rats going into this tournament. I was like, Golden Ghosts or Chaladons, that sounds like rat heaven. But if we take a look at the other list, there was actually an innovation to Lugia that I didn't really think about, which could be better, and that's the Radiant Charizard. Um, KO's Golden Go does not KO our Chaladon, but a little Iron Bundle boss action, and you can make Radiant Charizard KO on our Chaladon in the late game, which is cool as well. So that's an interesting inclusion. And it might be better than the second rat as well. It might be better than the second round. I also feel like Radiant Charizard synergizes pretty well with Weird Ear, so I was kind of surprised to not see a Weird Ear in here because like you can go like with a big Weird Ear, and then you still have Radzard as like a pretty powerful attacker into the mid late game as like a one prizer.
I found Kieran's list from Merida, and I think this is the 60. Or not this, but the other list. But yeah,
More
the
list
Rads are
videos.
definitely very cool. Um,
And this list was a little bit crazier. Like I said, there's like a Thornton, a Carmine. There's a Serena. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of Serena and Lugia. Like, you definitely want to play for a boss, but I don't hate the Serena because a lot of decks have V Pokemon on their bench still right now. So, like, a fifth boss isn't a bad thing, for sure. But
and then
yeah,
you still have the option to,
yeah, it's still a pseudo draw supporter.
yeah,
But
way to
yeah,
discard some Archeops.
the Radzard combo is definitely the big standout here. The Radzard, not specifically Iron Bundle in there as well, but just Radzard in general. Iron Bundle is something.
Yeah. But yeah, there we go. There's the top cuts. Other interesting decks. There was one Lost Box in top 32, it looks like. Similar build to Grant's list. Dude, Grant was getting dunked on so
Uh,
hard, but that's like the way people are playing Lost Box now, is the way
that,
he built his deck.
that's an Artisans. The Lost Box that I played again didn't have Jets. Was playing Artisans though. It's actually funny. I talked to him. He's like a first year player from Japan, and he hasn't been able to get into any Champions Leagues. So he came over. He played in the UIC, and then he came over here and played in Vancouver most recently. Um, he looks like he played a couple ICs last season as well. But yeah, he said he hasn't been able to make it into any Champions League. He has not won the lottery. So
He's just
um,
trying to spike a dub somewhere to get his world's invite.
yeah, definitely. And that kind of, I mean, that just kind of sucks to be honest. Like, especially like you can chain Champions Leagues.
Oh, this is cool. He had a
Um,
Monkey Dory in his deck.
yeah, he
No,
had the Monkey Door there as well. You can, like, chain Champions Leagues, 'cause, like, if you place high enough in one, you get invited to the next, but if you can never play in one, you can't actually ever get the opportunity to, like, chain them. Oh, I guess also, what is the thing now? If you win a city league, you think you get priority registration for the next Champions League,
something
so
like that. But you
you
can
gotta
only play in
in
one
one
city
city
league.
league. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, it's tough over there, man. It definitely sucks. Hopefully they like the game well, I want the game to get popular as it over in Japan where there's like 10,000 players trying to register for tournaments or whatever, but hopefully there's like some kind of solution for that. I don't know what it would be. A lot
Yeah.
of ways to get priority registration probably has to be it. But yeah, I can't think of anything else to mention as far as decks go.
Yeah, only one Terapagos in top 32 after it won EUIC, and Salazar here was playing the same 60 as Ryuki.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, that's Vancouver.